What is up, everyone? It's Rob from Sagaofdice here, coming at you with kind of a community post to try and help new members of the community. Thought I would go over how to build a list in light of... So Miniac made a video a little while ago basically pointing out a lot of, issues with Age of Sigmar, not to get into it too much, and he's absolutely right about list building. There's no direction whatsoever, so I thought I'd make this video, and then if you have someone getting into the game, maybe you'll show them this video and help them out. So today I'm going to actually use Warscroll Builder. I know it's the most popular one. I know it's free. I will probably also make a video on how to build a list using the app, which is also free, and I actually prefer it a little bit. But today I was going to go over one army. I was going to make a list for it and show you everything you need. Okay, so to get right into it, you will need a couple of things to make a list in Age of Sigmar. You don't need the the core rule book, but you will need, as Miniac and I think Haywo pointed out, a copy of the GHB. The GHB has the realm rules, it has the grand strategies, and it has everything you need, right? So you'll need a copy of that, or at least access to the rules. And then on top of that, and you also want access to the rules. Like right now, this is the current GHB that I'm showing on the screen, but you don't need the you don't need to play the current season of the GHB. You don't, and you can, this video will apply to ongoing seasons as well, okay? And then the other thing, the most important thing you need is a copy of your battle tome. Now, I've chosen to make a list with Deepkin because I think that they have a lot of the sort of principles behind a lot of list building. So that's why I chose them today. And you will also, and within the Idoneth Deepkin, or any battle tome, every battle tome at the end has a copy of the pitched battle profiles. And what those are for is so you can look at the side and see the unit types that each unit is. So like if you look at there's a section here called Battlefield Role, and one of them says Battle Line. There's one down below under Leviathan that says Behemoth. That's important. Leader is important. You need a certain amount of leaders, and you can't have over a certain amount of leaders. Just like you can't have over a certain amount of behemoths, and you need a certain amount of battle line. Okay. Now there are also other units that are battle line if, like the Alapex, like the Morsar Guard and the Ishlian Guard. These are all battle line if you have the required thing. So, for example, in Idoneth Deepkin, your Morsar Guard become battle line if your general specifically is an Achillean king. Okay? So we're going to go over that. We're going to use some of these principles right now. Okay? So, to get right into it, you can just Google... Whoops, I brought the GHP back up again. My bad, y'all. So you go to... today I'm going to be using Warscroll Builder. You can just go to warhammercommunity.com/warscroll-builder, and that will... Or you can just search Warscroll Builder, which is what I normally do because it's actually faster than typing with hyphens. So right away what you'll notice here on the screen is your leaders says 1+ right there. Okay, that means you have to have at least one leader for your list to be legal, and that's why here on Warscroll Builder it is red. Well, unless I highlight it in blue. And then battle line, because it's assumed up here that we're playing a 2,000 point battle. Now, if you are playing a 1,000 point battle, you can just have 2 battle line units. Or you can, talk to your opponent if you're playing less than that. When we're playing under 600 points or under 1,000 points, actually, we typically only have 1 battle line unit. That's just my local sort of Path to Glory rules that I run. But putting that aside, if you're playing a 2,000 point battle, which is kind of the gold standard and what everyone sort of will recommend that you play, you need 3 battle line units. Okay, so we're going to start off with picking out our Grand Alliance. Now, if you don't know which Grand Alliance you are under, you don't even have to worry about it. You can just like look under them here because see how it says select allegiance. So we can notice right away that Iden Deepkin are not in there. They are in order. So we pick our allegiance being Iden Deepkin, and then we select our enclave. And now the enclave is the Iden Deepkin word for sub-allegiance or like sub-faction. So here I'm going to pick Futhin because it also makes my sharks, my Alopexes, battle line. Okay, now that's just an example. You don't have to pick this. This is just something I'm using as an example. We could also pick Nautilar in Iden Deepkin, and that would make the big turtles, the Leviathans, also battle line. But today we're going to go with Futhin, just for fun. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm probably not. But that's fine, because it's a weird elf word. So then we go, now with below here, so first there is Mortal Realms. Don't worry about this, just ignore it. It's kind of a leftover from AOS 2, or I think AOS 2. I don't even remember. I literally don't even click on it. So then we look under here. Now here's something called Grand Strategy. Now if you're new to the game, I actually would recommend that you don't even worry about Grand Strategy. Grand Strategy is sort of a thing that you get points for at the end of the game, but when you're starting off playing Age of Sigmar, you're trying to learn the basics. So I will go over this at the end, and I will kind of make recommendations of where to find them. Actually, first of all, I'll say you can find the generic ones in the General's Handbook, and you can find additional ones in your own battle tome, right? But I actually just don't think newer players should play with this. If you don't know how to make a list, then you probably just should skip this. And you should probably also skip playing with battle tactics, at least for the first game, to learn the basics of the game. What phase goes where, the steps to playing just a normal game with primary objectives. That's more than enough to learn at the start, in my opinion. Okay, now we have below here, so Warscroll Builder is a little different in that we also have to pick our faction again, because you can also ally units. See how it says allied units over here? You can ally units into your army. So that's why on Warscroll Builder they have you select your army again when you want to actually pick the units that you're going to select from. Okay, so now we've still got this in red up here, and we've still got this in red. So the first thing you probably want to do is take care of that, right? So we've got our leader here. I'm going to go with the Achillean King, as mentioned before, because I want to make him my general, which makes the really cool eel units, which is one of my favorite units in Iden Deepkin, battle line. Okay, so we clicked on him, and we can actually change his name, but don't worry about that for now. We're starting off with basics, right? So I'm going to make him my general by clicking over here. And then that unlocks another little panel over here, which means I get to pick a command trait. You're going to want to look at your battle tome first, probably, to find a selection of command traits you can pick. But if you don't like it, then you can also do something called generic universal battle trait, or excuse me, command traits over here. So you could pick Master of Magic, which lets you reroll if they're a spellcaster, but he's not yet anyway. And then, but I usually like to go, and I think most people like to go with Unstoppable Fury. So, excuse me, it is just a popular command trait, but don't worry about that for now. Pick something you like. Try stuff out. You'll quickly figure out what you like and don't like. And then here, this little axe symbol here means we're picking what kind of weapon he's armed with. So I'm going to keep bladed polearm on him. And then this is an artifact. Now, we don't need to worry about that too much, but I'll pick an artifact just for fun, right? Just to see how you can do that. You get 1 free command trait total and 1 free artifact for your army total for your army, okay? So this there are ways of unlocking additional artifacts, but there is no ways of unlocking additional command traits. You can only get 1 ever. Okay, so we're gonna put on We're not going to put on Arcane Tome today because that does make him a wizard, because that's just a little more confusing than it needs to be, I think. I'm going to put on the Armor of the Sithai because I think it's cool. And then we've got the mount trait over here. Now the mount trait is something, so the Achillean King is riding this thing called a deep mare, and a deep mare can have a mount trait. So the mount trait we're going to put on him is called Void Chill Darkness. Now you don't have to do that, it just makes him better. But it's something that you have access to in most lists. A lot of armies have mount traits, so it's something to be aware of, right? We're not going to worry about the core battalions for now, and this is wrong. So he can't access the aspect of the champion. That's a rule that's special in the General's Handbook, and the reason he can't access it is because he has a mount, and that's not allowed in the current GHB. But that has nothing to do with the current like that has to do with the current season, and this is meant to be used for all of Age of Sigmar 3. Okay, now we've got a leader. Look up here. We're in the black, okay? We're no longer in the red, but that's just for the leaders. We still need 3 battle line units. So see how it says 3+, right? Okay, so that means we're going to come down to units over here. Now, if you look up here, it says Achillean Alopex, I'm the Deepkin battle line Enclave Futhan. Well, we are Enclave Futhan, so that means we get to just pick that. Now, you'll notice that there are no battle line turtles, no Leviatons here, and that's because we are not in the Nautilus Enclave, rather. But we could make it like that, and most armies at least, have access to battle line if scenarios. Again, to know that, you just look at the back of your book and you'll see exactly how to make something battle line. Battle line is something that you need. So yeah, anyway, so I'm going to pick an Alopex for battle line. I'm going to pick a unit of Morsar Guard for battle line because they are Achillean King General battle line, and you can see it down here on Warscroll Builder. And then I'm going to pick a unit of Thralls who are always battle line. Okay, so that gives you kind of an idea as to how and why, things can become battle line. It's not everything. Like Skaven and a bunch of other factions have even more specialized battle line if scenarios, but we're just kind of going over the basics today and just showing how you can make different things battle line and how to make a list, right? So you'll also notice under the Alopexes here, they have a choice of 2 different shooting weapons. I'm not going to go over the specifics of why one is better than the other in this particular list. It's just like, I'm just selecting it to show you that it's there and how to alter it, okay? We also have access to core battalions here, and I will go over that at the end, because I think that's, although you should plan your army around core battalions, if we're talking at the basic stages of the game, and as the core battalions themselves change, it's not really something I think that you need to think about right away, okay? So we'll go over it at the end, but this is going over the basics first. So now we've got our 3 battle line. We are in the black up here. We're in the black up here, okay? We're total for points out of 2,000, and we can't go over, remember. You can go up to, but not over 2,000 points. So we're at 730 points. So let's add some more cool units. We will add a Leviathan, because a giant turtle is freaking cool. Mine's named Michelangelo. And so we have another mount trait. Now, normally you get 1 mount trait for your army. The Aidna Thievkin book actually happens to say you get 1 of each for a Leviathan and for a Deep Mare, but we're not going to worry about that today. This is not about that. This is about how to unlock or not unlock, excuse me, I was thinking about the next thing I was going to say down the line about that whole mount trait, unlocking additional artifacts and such, but that's done through core battalion. So first we're just making a basic list, okay? So we've got a behemoth. Now we can only have up to 4 behemoths, right? So now we are up to 1190 points out of 2,000. So let's put in a couple of cool, let's put in some more leaders. We can't go over 6, but that's not going to be a problem. I'm going to add a soul render because soul renders are freaking awesome. And I'm going to add a aspect of the sea because he's one of the coolest looking units in the game. So now we've got 3 leaders and we are up to 1635 points. Well, I know that because my soul render buffs Namarti units, especially thralls, or actually especially Namarti units for him. Anyway, I'm going to make this unit of thralls here, I'm going to make them bigger. So I'm going to use some of my reinforcement points. Now, most armies have up to 4 reinforcement points that you can use. So I'm going to use 1 set of reinforcement points to double the amount of guys in here to 20 instead of 10, or guys and girls. So now we're up to 1765 points, and we are going to let's see. Let's use up another reinforcement point to take them up to 390. So we're at 1895. Okay. And we're going to add another leader if we can. Let's see. So we're at 95. So that means we have 105 points to play with. See, we don't have enough. Okay. Well, did you know that you can also ally units into your army? So here we're going to just take this opportunity to switch up here. So we don't want to switch our allegiance because that'll mess everything up. But when we add units, we can also pick other armies here, right? So we're going to pick Cities of Sigmar. Now we can add a little leader from here, and we're going to add a battle mage, okay? So that takes us up. So we've got an allied battle mage. We can have up to 400 points of allies in a 2,000 point army. It's 20%, right? So we're well under that. We've got 100 out of 400 allies. We have 4 leaders. We have 1 artifact. We have 0 triumphs selected, but that's going to come at the end here. We've got 1 behemoth out of 4. We have 0 artillery, but we don't have any artillery in this army, so it's not really, it's not perfect in terms of showcasing it. But we are at 1995 points, which means we are under 2,000 points, which means we can get a triumph, which means we're going to go down and we're going to select a triumph. Now, I did have access, by the way, to picking endless spells, which I could have added to the army, which are all down here. Wait, we have artillery. Oh, I see. Now we're still in Cities of Sigmar. So I'm actually going to switch that back just because I might get confused. And yeah, so we could have added that to take us up to however many points. Like this would have taken us up to 1985 points instead. But this is just an example, and I thought it would be good to use allies in here, right? This will also help me show something with the battalions in a moment. So because we're not 2,000 points, if we're facing a player who has 2,000 points, then we can have a triumph, which is a once per game ability. You can find these in your General's Handbook. I'm going to pick Inspired for +1 to wound once per game if the army I face is more points than me, which for me would literally only be if they're 2,000 points. If they're 1995 points, neither one of us gets the triumph, and if they're 1990, then they get the triumph. So they get a cool once per game ability. It's very strong, so I highly recommend you do that. Okay, so now we have 4 leaders. We have 3 battle line. We have 1 behemoth. We have 1 ally. Where'd it go? 1 ally at 100 points over here. And we've used up 2 out of our 4 possible reinforcement points. We could have added another Alapex, another shark onto here to do more. But yeah, you can reinforce, which adds double the amount of models in the unit, up to 4 times total. And a battle line unit can be reinforced twice, which is what we did over here. And a non-battle line unit can be reinforced up to 1 time. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why you want to make things battle line, is so you have access to more reinforcement for 1 unit. You can never go over 4 unless your army has a specific ability that lets them do that. Okay, so now we're almost done. We just need to pick out our core battalions. So you are going to want to kind of figure this out. It's maybe a little more complicated than it seems. And if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, especially the battalions, feel free to drop them in the comments or ask me if it's something more complicated. I'll make a whole other video about it. I'm totally down to help out in any way I can. So today we are going to pick 2 battalions. It's a very popular set of choices. One is called the Warlord Battalion, and the other one is called the Battle Regiment. Now, the Battle Regiment has the ability called Unified, and you can find all of this in your General's Handbook, but this Battle Regiment allows you to drop everything that's inside the Battle Regiment, inside this battalion, at once. So you drop everything at once when you set up your army, and then the reason that you want that, and not everyone wants it. A lot of armies actually don't want to do that. They want to extend their drops, but it would allow you to choose who goes first, which kind of, helps with the double turn. Like if you're in one drop, most of the time you are going to get to just choose who goes first. And a lot of the time that's going to be your kind of go-to thing, where that's the thing you want to do. So we got a Battle Regiment, and then we've got a Warlord Battalion. The mandatory units, first of all, in the Battle Regiment is you need one commander, which means you need one leader. You need to put it in the battalion, and then you need at least 2 troops. Now, your troops are not necessarily battle line. And then the optional units are 2 sub-commanders, up to 2 sub-commanders, up to 3 troops, up to 1 artillery, and up to 1 monster. Okay? Then we've got the Warlord Battalion, and the Warlord Battalion mandatory units are 1 commander, 2 sub-commanders. So you need to have 2 of them that are 9 wounds or less, and 1 troop minimum. So we meet all of these requirements. So we're just going to go through, and first I'm going to put the units that I want in my Warlord Battalion, because it's easier, because that has more requirements, right? So we need to have one. So we'll add this guy here to the, oops, I'm looking at the wrong thing, Core Battalion. And now, because we've selected these 2 battalions, we now have access to putting units inside of them. So the Aspect of the Sea has 12 wounds or more, so he can go in the commander slot of your Battle Regiment. And then we've got the Soul Render. He's going to go inside the Warlord Battalion as well. He's under the sub-commander section. And you don't need to pick them on Warscroll Builder, so a lot of people are going to kind of mess this up. So it's a good idea to kind of make sure that you're doing that. You're doing it right, rather. And then Core Battalion, we have a Warlord Battalion here. So now we have the minimum requirements for our Battle Regiment, the Warlord Battalion. We've got a commander, which is 10 wounds or more, which is the Aspect of the Sea. We've got 2 sub-commanders, which is the Soul Render and the Achillean King, because the Achillean King is 7 wounds, I think, 7 or 8 wounds. And then the troop, but we don't have the troop yet. So we're going to put in a troop. Now the troop are any of these units, because they have become, they actually always are, because you don't need to be battle line, but you can make like a turtle, a behemoth into a troop, I think, if you make him into battle line, but we haven't done that today, so don't worry about that for now. We have more than enough, and we want to make the lower drops, right? So we're going to add the Alopex here into the Warlord Battalion. So now we've got all 3 leaders filled out for the Warlord Battalion, and we've got a unit of troops in there. So it's all filled out. Now, what that gives us access to in the Warlord Battalion is it gives us access to another enhancement. So actually, if we go down here under Warlord, so we don't actually get to select in Warscroll Builder, but we get access to the Magnificent and Strategist. So the Strategist lets us add 1 extra command point once per game, and the Magnificent lets us add an artifact, mount trait, spell. You get various different things in it. It's all in the GHB. Just look it up under there. Each battalion has its own kind of ability. So check it out in the GHB to kind of know more about it. But because of that means we get to add another artifact. So we're going to add an artifact to our Aspect of the Sea. We're going to give him an Arcane Tome here. And an Arcane Tome lets him, he's already a spellcaster, so it doesn't make him a wizard where he wouldn't be already, but it does give him the access to another spell. So we unlock that with the Warlord Battalion. It's pretty cool, right? Okay, now we got to fill out the last part of this whole thing is filling out the battle regiment. Now, or the other battalion that we've selected. So we're going to put the battle mage into the battle regiment. And then we're going to add the two other things that are not in a core battalion here into the battle regiment. So that fills out the minimum. We've got 2 troops there. We've got 1 leader. We've got 1 commander, I should say. And so we filled it out already. But we're also going to add the Leviathan because that lets him drop down at the same time. So now to count out our drops, because some people are going to ask you your drops, you are, if you in this list, because the Warlord Battalion still drops 1 at a time, right? So you got your Achillean King is 1 drop. You've got your Soul Render is 2 drops. You've got the Aspect of the Sea, which is, or whoops, I didn't mean to select him. He's supposed to be in the Warlord Battalion. That was a misclick. My apologies, everyone. So we got the Achillean King, we got the Soul Render, and we got the Aspect of the Sea. So that's the 3 slots for there. And we've got the Alopex here in the Warlord Battalion. That is 4 drops, right? So we've got 4 drops total so far. And then everything else is in the Battle Regiment here. So the Battle Mage is in the Battle Regiment. The Morsar Guard is Battle Regiment. Namarti Thralls are Battle Regiment. And the Leviathan is also Battle Regiment. So that only adds 1 more drop because they all go down all at the same time. You don't have a choice. They all have to go down at the same time in this particular battalion. Very popular one. So now we are 5 drops total. So you're going to drop them all like that. So the Battle Regiment goes down at once. It doesn't have to go down first. It just has to go down at the same time. And then everything else goes down 1 at a time. So then if your opponent is more drops than you, then you get to decide who goes first. Okay? So last but not least, I will talk about Grand Strategy. Grand Strategy is the thing where you get it at the end of the game if you complete it at the end of the game. It's worth 3 points. So it's worth looking into. And you obviously should select it once you get comfortable with the game. I'm going to pick the, where did it go? Let's see here. The Creeping Gloomtide. I believe that's the one where I protect my terrain piece for Aina Deepkin. Now, Aina Deepkin do get a terrain piece, but it is not on Warscroll Builder. It is in the app, and it costs 0 points. A lot of armies have terrain pieces that they get for free, and they give your army like an effect, an ability, and so it's something that you should be aware of. But you don't pay any points for it, and you can't select it in Warscroll Builder, so I can't really make a good kind of example using it, but I will when I do a list on the Age of Sigmar app, which is free, again, I should mention, and it does have occasional bugs, but then we noticed that we also had bugs here. Now, right now, in the current GHB, you can also get an Aspect of the Champion. You can't put it on your Achillean King because he has a mount, which is a bug on Warscroll Builder. So they both have bugs, right? But you can put it on someone who does not have a mount, is 9 wounds or less, and is not a named character. And I might be missing something else, but yeah, you can also pick one of these. I'm just selecting one there because you get 1 Aspect of the Champion. Now, you could, instead of using your Magnificent bonus from the Warlord Battalion, put a different aspect of the champ. You could add 2 aspects of the champion because that's an enhancement, like mount traits, like everything, like spells, etc. But we're just going to keep it simple today and do the kind of the most common thing, which is add an extra artifact. Okay, so that in a nutshell is building a list. It probably seems more complicated than it actually is. It does say in red here that I have 2 artifacts, but I'm allowed 2 artifacts because I have the right battalion. Now, again, I don't see a way of selecting my bonus here. There might be... Oh, here we go. It's right here. My bad, everyone. So I actually usually use the app. Because I like it because it saves all my stuff. So we can select an extra artifact here. And so now we're not in the red anymore for artifacts. It says 2 out of 2 instead of 2 out of 1. Meaning, but if I wanted to add an extra something else, right? We can change this. 1 second. Boop. There we go. And if you have 2 warlord battalions, you can actually get 2 different enhancements, right? But we're going to switch it over to aspect of the champion here, just to show you an example real quick. And then artifacts become 2 out of 1 again. So that means we have too many artifacts. So we take that off of him, and now we're in the black again, which is great. But we can add another aspect of the champion if we want. Where is the aspect of the champions? It doesn't have it listed up here. Does it not? I'm not seeing it. Behemoth, artillery, allies, allied triumphs, artifacts, endless spells and invocations, reinforce, additional enhancements. Oh, okay, that must be where it goes under. So I've got 0 out of 1 additional enhancements. That's a kind of a, yeah, it'd be nice if they actually put aspect of the champion, but it is what it is. So we can put that on the soul render. Oh no, we've already got one on the soul render. You can't have 2 of anything on a unit. Like, it doesn't matter. Artifacts, command traits, anything. You can never have 2 of one thing. 2 different enhancements on the same unit, right? Actually, unless it's spells. Never mind. But for the most part, that's true. You can never have 2 artifacts unless there's an exception. You can never have, etc., right? So this guy can have an aspect of the champion as well. Oh, no, you can't. Because, see, so it's a little buggy at times. We have to put it on the battle mage here if we want to put it an aspect of the champion, right? Because he is less than 9 wounds, he does not have a mount, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So that, in a nutshell, is making a list. It definitely ran a little longer, but I wanted to explain everything out in as much detail as I possibly can. I will make another video on how to make a list in the app, because it's actually my preferred way, and it's kind of a little more complicated, but you can see the details a little bit easier, and I like it because it saves my list, and I can go back and I can fiddle with it at any point, and it's all saved. You know, you can save your list on here, right? It's not like you can't save your list. So you can save your list, you put in the name of the list, blah, 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 blah. That's the name of my list, and it's a crazy name. And then when you go back on here, wait, did it say you can't do that? Okay. Boop, there we go. So I think it probably couldn't have special notes or special stuff on there. So there's my list. Now, I can't go in here and fiddle with it and have it just automatically stay the same, which is the reason why I don't, use it. So see how it loaded it back up again. But now if I change it, it's still just saved under that one thing. Now, of course, you can just save it and blah, 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 but that's the reason why I tend to use the app. I like just fiddling with it and going back and forth and not having to save it under a different name each time. And also because it's easier on the go and whatnot, and you have access to all the rules. Like if you bought your battle tome, then you actually have access to all those rules. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off into the weeds about how I like the app and why I use the app, which is not the purpose of this video. But I hope I explained everything. And if there's any questions, drop them in the comments. If you want to see me just build another army list, let me know. I can do that. I can do it on here. I can do it in the app or whatever you like. So let me know. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, if it helped you, please share it with people who are new to the game. It's the biggest complaint. It's the hardest way to get people into the game is getting over this hurdle. And so I would appreciate it. And I think other people would appreciate it if you kind of helped other people get into the game, because the more people we have to play with, the more fun there is to have, right? So thanks to everyone for watching. Subscribe if you liked the video, and we'll see you guys next time.